TRICHOMES.com studios in Southern California. It's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the TRICHOMES Morning Buzz. It's Wednesday, May 25th, and here are your top cannabis headlines. First up, Canadian cannabis producers overdue excise tax more than triple to California at $52 million. Kansas lawmakers plan to work on medical marijuana over summer as 2022 session ends. Delaware's Democratic governor vetoes marijuana legalization bill, but lawmakers have votes to override. Rhode Island, marijuana legalization heads to governor following Senate and House passage. And over in Georgia, voters approve marijuana legalization ballot question. So good morning, getting straight into it. We're going to go straight over to the Canadian cannabis producers overdue excise taxes more than triple to California's $52 million. Long and short, bringing this one up because we've been talking about taxes and what a detriment it can do to the legal aspect of cannabis. This particular case illustrates what Canada is doing to overcome some of these hurdles and some of the relief they're providing the legal processors up there in Canada. So unpaid federal tax excise duty is piling up in Canada's cannabis industry, with excise debt more than tripling to 52.4 million Canadian dollars, which is $40 million as of March 2022, up sharply from California's $16 million owed in March 2021. That suggests at least 20% of all federally regulated companies owe the Federal Revenue Agency money. The latest sign that excise duty burdens are weighing on struggling cannabis producers, industry officials say. They cite falling marijuana prices and fierce competition as among the factors of making it difficult for producers to pay their excise duties, which are levied on a variety of cannabis products in a timely manner. The cannabis industry is making a choice whether to pay its taxes or keep the lights on. Dan Sutton, CEO of British Columbia-based cannabis product Tantalus Labs. Canada's excise duty imposed on producers dried cannabis either CA $1 per gram or 10% of the value of a gram, whichever is greater. Different excise rules apply to various cannabis derivatives and other products such as edibles. Let's see here. MoreStruggling Companies. A number of cannabis producers with overdue excise tax duties has skyrocketed as production licenses issued by the federal government surged 150% over the past 2 years, and more companies suffered financial setbacks. The number of cannabis companies with undisputed CRA debt more than doubled to 141 as of the spring of 2022, from 68 last spring and 33 in 2020. For perspective, Health Canada lists 856 cannabis licensees on its website, and many companies hold more than one license. Let's see. There's a part here that basically said that ultimately let's see, 141. Basically, what was read here in the end was that given a year's time, the CRA goes ahead and collects this debt from people, and after a year, most people are out of debt, and Canada is able to actually recoup its money. So year after year, the debt has actually not gone up. It's been more manageable with giving people time to get their affairs in order. So brought that up because essentially, it's a big deal here in California. It's a big deal here in the U.S. as far as what actually is going to be happening. And to us, that tax burden is a big deal here. So let's see here. Next up is Kansas lawmakers plan to work on medical marijuana over summer as the 2022 session ends. This happened a couple days ago. I just want to throw it out there. Monday marked the end of the legislative session. And while Democratic lawmakers made a final push to enact medical cannabis legalization before the deadline, Senate, Federal, and State Affairs Committee Chairman Robert Olson said in a press release that the heavy load his committee had to carry on other issues means lawmakers will not be getting this measure across the finish line this session. He goes on to be quoted as, "I'm proud of what has been accomplished since the beginning of the session, but not convinced we have been able to fully take into account the complexities presented by all the potential patients, experts, and agencies that will be responsible to regulate the recommendation, cultivation, production, distribution, and safe consumption of substances that come out of the cannabis plant." So this represents a significant setback for advocates and stakeholders. But what this means is that the legislative effort to get Kansas in line with the vast majority of other states with respect to its medical cannabis policy will likely be on hold till 2023. All right, and going to go ahead and head on over to the next story, which for us is Delaware. Delaware's Democratic governor vetoes marijuana legalization bill, but lawmakers have votes to override. So it was no secret that Governor John Carney wasn't keen on legalization, despite the issue's popularity, especially within his own party. But advocates were holding out, hoping that he would at least allow the simple measure to legalize possession and sharing of cannabis for adults 21 and older to become law. In a statement, the governor said that he supports allowing people to access cannabis for medical purposes and feels that individuals should not be imprisoned solely for the possession and private use of small amounts of marijuana. But he doesn't believe Delaware should go beyond its current policies. He says, "I do not believe that promoting or expanding the use of recreational marijuana is in the best interest of the state of Delaware, especially for our young people. Questions about the long-term health and economic impacts of recreational marijuana uses, as well as serious law enforcement concerns, remain unsolved." So that's over there in Delaware. Next up, we've got Rhode Island. And Rhode Island actually came down yesterday as to where Rhode Island marijuana legalization heads to the governor following Senate and House passage. So there's a little bit different than the Delaware situation as to where it's just getting passed and it's heading over to the governor. Both chambers took up a proposal advancing them to the opposite body for perfunctory votes on final passage to formally send the legislation to Governor Dan McKee, who supports legalization and is expected to sign the reform into law on Wednesday. That's today, right? Yeah, that's good. So we'll have an update on that shortly. But lawmakers in both chambers recently unveiled a revised version of the reform proposal following months of negotiations with advocates, stakeholders, and the governor's office. These latest floor actions come less than a week after both bills advanced through the committee process in their respective chambers. The bill would allow adults 21 and older to purchase and possess up to 1 ounce of cannabis and grow up to 6 plants, only 3 of which could be mature for personal use. It was revised from its original form to address certain concerns about equity, regulatory responsibility, and more before advancing the votes. So again, that was Rhode Island marijuana legalization heading to the governor's desk. And we're going to follow up with Georgia. Georgia is the last story here for the day. And Georgia voters approved marijuana legalization ballot on question. State Democratic Party leadership placed 9 non-binding advisory questions on the primary election ballot to help inform legislature on where Georgians stand on various issues, including legalization. The marijuana measure was leading by a strong margin of 80% to 20% on Wednesday morning, with the 95% of all counties having completely reported their votes, accounting for a total of 649,487 ballot votes counted thus far. Here's the language of the ballot question voters were asked. Should marijuana be legalized, taxed, and regulated in the same manner as alcohol for adults 21 years or older, with proceeds going towards education, infrastructure, and healthcare programs? The results of the vote won't immediately change the state law, but it stands to reason that the strong showing in favor of legalization underscores the elected officials that there is support for the reform, and at least among those who vote for the Democratic Party. All right. Well, that's that. That's a few state updates we've got going on here. Um, we're gonna come on over to the chat and see how things are going. And it is a slow Wednesday for us, but hey, good morning to everybody in the chat. Joey 420, good morning. Stephen Woods, good morning. Joey Riolano, I hope I didn't butcher that. Good morning. Hope everybody's high and healthy this morning. Me too. Me too. All right. I'm not quite high yet, but I'll be getting there at some point today. Let's see. Checking in on the TRICHOMES community app here, seeing how things are going this morning. We've got a few people already in the chat here. Let's see. Manny23. Good morning. Always at the forefront with the news. Thanks a lot for that, Manny. We try to stay on top of it. We're going through these changes, and the formatting and all that kind of stuff is kind of funny, but really have been enjoying the conversations here with the chat, both in the TRICHOMES community and here on YouTube. It's been a great. Stony Tony, perfect timing. Just rolled up some homegrown. There we go. Nice. And Bio 0420. Hasn't there been a study now that legalization does not lead to an uptick for use in minors, for uptick in use in minors? Tired of politicians talking nonsense. There has been some studies, and we can recite them, but I think there's a few studies that came out of Colorado initially, and then some national studies that just came out last year based upon where recreational use was voted into legalization, that essentially teen use had not gone up, and something else does something else as far as driver impact and that kind of stuff, health and safety as far as highway control and that kind of thing. So, and I missed a couple people up front. Rosie Gur 420, Panman, Chunk Life. Good to see you here on the app as well. Thanks for joining on the TRICHOMES community app. It's been a morning. There's not much in the way of cannabis big news going on federally and realistically. Today was a slow day as far as that went. That's why we went over to Canada to talk a little bit about the taxes and what they're going through, because I found that to be an insightful article based upon what we're currently experiencing and what we're probably going to go through over the next little bit. Canada has a bit of a head start on us as far as the federal legalization, both import, export of cannabis and that kind of thing. And really, regardless of how different the markets are, it does go to show what the industry itself is going through up there with taxation and that kind of stuff. So that's why we found that relevant. But then we went on to the state updates. And, again, when we're talking about this, the only thing that really stood as news was Kansas having to push it from this session to voting it in over the 2023 year. And then Delaware's Democratic governor vetoes the marijuana legalization bill, but seeing where the lawmakers have to override it and go through this rigmarole again of dealing with the politics of people and their opinions versus science and what's going on. So it's a little bit of a slow day, but yeah, I wanted to jump on here and see how everybody was going. Again, to Bio 420, there are legalization studies about where this plant has been legalized as far as teen use and drivers and that kind of stuff. And realistically, it's shown that the numbers of teens really aren't being, teen use isn't really being affected based upon legalization efforts. I mean, ultimately, the abundance and availability of cannabis in the legal market is still what it is. And really, when you're talking about driver safety and public safety, that you haven't seen an increase in crashes or anything like that either. So Joy 420, anything about Pennsylvania? I don't remember seeing anything recently about that. Let me take a little bit of a quick, I think the last thing that we updated there was, let's see here, about a month ago, Pennsylvania House lawmakers filed marijuana banking and tax reform bill after the Senate passes its version. So essentially, the last thing is that Pennsylvania was taking in to account a banking bill to protect its statewide medical marijuana program, but nothing for Pennsylvania has come up since. DRS Metal, good morning. And that Delaware governor is an idiot. Well, unfortunately, for me, it's the first time I've heard about him. So I from what I'm hearing on his quotes and that kind of stuff, it's one of those deals that, yeah, he seems to be misinformed here. But yeah, I don't know anything else about his politics or his other actions. So let's see. Joy 420, I'm surrounded by states that are legal. And it's a tough thing, especially when you're talking about your personal safety and well-being. Now you can go to other states and grab this, but what does that mean when you bring it home? And what do you face in your home state for the use and consumption thereof of cannabis? So, hey, Little Mac 86, good morning. Good to see you. I am going to probably keep this one short and sweet, just because of the fact that, again, there wasn't too much news to go over, and ultimately, yeah, there's a couple other things going on, but I'm really trying to pull this breeders and genetics conversation together for us on Friday. I got a couple people I've been talking to over the last couple of days, and really, joining here at 7:30 in the morning over on Pacific Standard Time here is going to be a little bit tougher. We'll figure it out though. We're going to be bringing that conversation here and at least have a few different breeders, seed banks, and ways to get these strains that we're looking for in a safe manner. So, Kingfish, Philip, it's a sad day here in Texas. Mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas elementary school, 1 hour away from where I live. Jeez, I've been watching that news, and heart goes out to you and everyone in Texas, especially all the parents who lost children, the two teachers who were killed. That's just unimaginable. It's going to be interesting to see where the grievances are with the gunmen and that kind of stuff. What happened, if it was a mental illness thing. You almost have to suspect it's a mental illness thing, because holy crap, walking into an elementary school and doing this is just unthinkable. Unthinkable. So yeah, Philip, thanks for checking in. Yeah, really, the condolences going out to you and everybody in Texas experiencing this loss. Let's see. As of the day, not a whole bunch going on in the comments right at the moment. And again, that probably has a lot more to do with the fact that we don't have a lot going on in the news. But love to come on and chat with you guys going on here, see what's going on as well. But tomorrow we will be checking in again. We'll be seeing if there's any movement. If not, I'll probably bring a couple other states updates, and we'll prepare for the genetics and breeders conversation here on Friday a little bit more. So with that, hey, I just wanted to say thanks for joining once again. We'll keep bringing the news even when it's slow, and we're not quite to final final circumstances in those states, but it's at the same time, this is the chance when you can get out and do something about it, when things are on the cusp, when things are being vetoed, when other people when other holdouts are trying to drag things to a grinding halt and go a different direction. This is the best time to get out, get with your groups, and go ahead after it. Get those signatures, get the will of the people out in front of the local municipalities, and go for it. So with that, I bid everybody adieu. Be safe, be well, have a great day, and we'll talk tomorrow. Catch up with you then. Thanks.